Welcome to Making More, the podcast where high-performing business owners and visionary executives share how they're building more than just bottom lines. I'm your host, Billy Fischer, an engineering leader turned business and executive coach, and I'm guided by a personal mission to help leaders create clarity, build forward momentum, and make more of what matters most. My guest today, Sabrina Shafer, is a highly sought-after speaker and leading consultant for some of the world's largest AI and technology companies. As a behavioral analyst and serial entrepreneur with several successful exits in GTM and AI, she helps industry leaders achieve rapid growth. Sabrina's expertise is uplifting and powerful, setting sales teams to shift their mindset from fearing the unknown to leveraging complexity to win and outmaneuver the competition. Ultimately, she empowers and motivates them to transform customer inertia into long-term trusted partnerships. Audiences rave about Sabrina's storytelling, which inspires them to take immediate action and fuel sales growth. Sabrina, welcome to Making More.
Hello. Thank you. Before I jump on podcasts or do any kind of speaking engagement, usually people ask for a bio. And I recently sent out a bio very similar to what you have. And they added, and not to mention, she's funny too. And I thought, what a sweet addition. What a sweet addition. So there you go.
Well, let's highlight the sense of humor today. I'll try and get to the last. Yeah. But
I'm here for it.
What is going on in the world of keynote speaking?
You know what? It's everyone is dealing with change right now. And if I hear one more person say like neck breaking rapid change, or we get it, it's changing fast. But fundamentally, people are terrified. They're fearful. They're scared for their jobs. They're scared for the changes that are going to be required in their business and external. Naturally, of course, sales has always been very focused on the competition. How do I beat out the competition? How do I compete with them? So people are really uneasy right now and trying to figure out where do they play in this, world. And as somebody who's become now a resident expert on fear and how do you really leverage fear to make your life better, to say it simply, there's a lot that can be done. And so it's pretty exciting. I just did a podcast and talked about this and actually have another keynote coming up with it as well. I wrapped up a keynote for a very large Fortune, call it 250, maybe 500, and got a standing ovation, but not for me, for them, to get them excited, for them to be empowered. So right now, people are looking for that.
Standing ovation?
Yes.
Wow.
I love that. That's how it should be. If you're standing up in this world right now and taking on these challenges, I mean, you know a few things about that. Yeah, you should be applauding yourself. It's really challenging. And anybody who tells you any different is lying to you or themselves. So yes, we had a standing ovation and went on for quite some time, just applauding themselves. And it was exactly how I wanted it to end. It was awesome.
I have to share an anecdote with you. I think you'll appreciate it.
Okay.
It came from the labor and delivery room with my wife and me and our new son and her OB. And my wife looked at her after everything was finished, and thankfully it all went well, and we overcame one kind of like miracle thing, but everything was fine. When they say to the nurses, call the hemorrhage team, that's never good news. but thankfully nothing like that happened. It was all fine. But anyway, my wife kind of jokingly looks at Dr. Boyer and says, that was hard. And Dr. Boyer, not sympathetic at all, says, what? Hard? You think it's going to get easier from here? You don't like that? And so my wife and I have this ongoing thing now. We'll just say, we like to do hard things. It's fine.
That's it. That's good. That's fundamentally what every business leader and everybody in business right now needs to say to themselves. I do difficult things. That's what I do, because it's just the way. I think it's just part of the human existence. Humaning is hard.
Yeah. Humaning. I like that. That's good.
It is.
Your background is, I would say, maybe the most unique that I've ever seen, because
Okay.
you were coming from a place of deep technical knowledge, and also you've got a behavioral analyst mindset. So it's just a combination of things that you're bringing together, that you now offer clients and organizations. So tell me how it got started.
I really, I didn't realize this, but I think it's kind of in my DNA. I didn't know until years, decades later, that I had a grandmother and an aunt who both worked with special needs kids. And that's really how I started, or first became a behavior analyst. Is I would go in and I had a clinic that worked with special needs kids and did a ton of training for major hospitals and school districts and, really predominant doctors and, really focused on how do we understand human behavior? How do we get people to do more of what we want them to do and less of what we don't want them to do? Even for people who maybe are nonverbal. What does that look like? And how do you shape behavior? How do you understand it? And then that's where my love really started. That was my first company. I just started college. I just got my driver's license. And being a good immigrant, I had to figure out, okay, how do I pay for all of this? Because, the expectation is you're going to get straight A's, but you're also going to have to pay for it. And so I thought, well, I'll start a company. Naturally, it turns out that's who I am. Who knew? And so I started studying it and getting really, good at it and building a team of just experts around me and still love it. I just got another certification in behavior profiling. I've got 2 more to go. It's just a passion of mine. I think it's absolutely fascinating when you can really understand fundamentally the human existence.
The science behind it too, I think it's so fascinating. And
Oh,
I've
yeah.
only just kind of begun scratching the surface. Focal Point is big on the DISC assessment and the DISC behavioral profiles. And so even just that, on the surface, it's a lot. Like the 69-page debrief that we have to work through is like, that's a lot of information. Like, how can you get that from a 20-minute assessment? But
Right.
there's a lot
Right.
of science behind it, and they've invested a lot into validating the science. And so I think in that way, it's kind of interesting.
It really is, yeah. And what it means for influence, for persuasion, for marketing, for building out products, solutions, offerings, when you promote them, when you don't. I mean, it fundamentally influences or touches every part of the human existence. There's just no way to get around it. It's, how you influence your wife that you want to get Mexican in front of, instead of Italian tonight, or how you convince your son that he should go to bed at 8 o'clock and not 9:30, or get off of video games. Humans are, originally started with behavior and then language came, and so that part is so much better developed. And language is certainly a part of kind of the behavioral profile or umbrella of behavior profiling. But it's such a smaller component than we probably give credit to.
Hmm. I
Yeah, I
want to
love
come
it.
back
It's
to one
fascinating.
thing that you mentioned, and it was your fact that you're an immigrant and you came to be an entrepreneur in that way. I don't know if this is a fact or not, but it just seems to me like that the number of entrepreneurs and people that start businesses that are immigrants is like a very high percentage. I think it's kind of, is it, tell me about like your experience with that. Do you see it a lot in the immigrant community, or
Interesting.
am I overstating it?
No, I don't know, but I'll tell you right after this, I'm gonna look at the stats on it and see if there are
Please.
any. I think for me, I'm very open now about my origin story. For the first 30 plus years of my life, I was wildly ashamed and never talked about it. And if I was forced to, I would either lie or try to divert the conversation because I was just so embarrassed about it.
Oh no.
I was afraid of the judgment. I was afraid of people pitying me. I want things because I earn them, not because they're given to me, or pity or whatever it might be. But yeah, I moved to the US from Germany. It was my first language. And when we came here after a series of events, we were effectively homeless. And so my mom borrowed money from a second grade teacher to get us our first 1 bedroom apartment. And so I was the kid on free and reduced lunch. I was a kid when you give presents around holidays. I was the kid who got them. So thank you. Food banks, you name it. And I think for me, at least, I can't speak for all immigrants, obviously, or business leaders, that instilled a level of scrappiness and resilience and resourcefulness. Um, I fundamentally knew at a young age, and I still don't know how or why, but if I could educate myself, and this was right when internet was kind of becoming a thing, cell phones were kind of becoming a thing, just the interconnection and availability of information. Um, but I knew if I could educate myself and surround myself with really good people, I could get out of my situation. And so I skipped 2 grades. I graduated law school, top of my class, and really decided, okay, well, how am I going to pay for all of this? And it just became innate to me. Well, I'll start a company. I'll start a business. And I didn't know back then what it was really going to mean and what impact it would really have. And yeah, I'm so blessed that it's gotten to where it is, and that I've been able to start so many other companies and been wildly successful as an entrepreneur. But it certainly wasn't something I was planning on. It just is somebody that I am. But I had a very incredible role model in my mom. She needed to figure out, how am I going to support these kids? How am I going to learn English? How am I going to do this? And failure was just not an option. And so you learn that. Maybe that's part of the kind of immigrant mentality. I will say, astonishingly, I have noticed that most successful people that I work with, consult for, speak for, had very humble beginnings. Now, certainly there's a population of the industry that have the right last name, the right dad, the right trust fund, you name it, the right college network. But the folks who are the most successful and the best leaders, I'll say it that way, are the ones who understand the human part of the human existence, because they lived it and they understand what it really means to do it, to fight for it, to really never be given anything, to really have to fight for everything you've got. And then the really good ones lift up others along the way to get them there too.
I love that part. So true. Being able to bring people along when you have opportunities and when you earn opportunities. I think you put it perfectly, that there are people in this world that have literally never faced a hardship. And I wonder what that is like, to go through life not having had a bump in the road or a setback or anything, where it's just all fed to you on a silver platter. And I think that's probably a lot of where the corruption and the greed comes in. And I don't want to skew political, but just hearing your story today, it tears my heart up to see what's happening to the immigrants in this country right now. It's unjust.
I'll tell you something I learned as a lawyer and as an entrepreneur, and frankly, just as a person. We have to get this idea out of our head that there's justice. I know we call it the justice system, but it's so broken. And it's something that I sadly have to, I represent special needs kids still to this day. I jokingly say some people have golf, I have the law. And it's an honor of mine that I get to do it. But the first thing I have to tell parents is, I know it's not right, but we don't have a just system. It's so broken. And hopefully there are people who will do something about it. This isn't a political statement. I think people would be shocked with where I land politically. And it's because, and I talk openly about this all the time, I change my mind constantly, and I want to keep changing my mind. It means I have new information and I'm learning, and you want somebody talking to you who is open-minded and learning. So I hope I'm not the same person today, and I don't have the exact same views today as I do a year from now or 10 years from now. If I do, I'm not so proud of that. So, kind of putting our immediate politics aside, I think there's a lot to be done around the quote unquote justice system. But I think, for so long I wanted to fight it. And what I've learned now, and by the way, this applies to business, it applies to life, is instead of fighting through it, go around it. Go around it. Let them think they're winning and go succeed. That's the real win. That's the real win. So, if somebody, and this is something I have to remind myself as an overthinker and recovering people pleaser, is I don't like everyone. So not everyone has to like me. That's okay.
That was the first thing my mom taught me.
Yeah.
You're not going to like everybody, and that's okay.
That's it, and that's okay. Yeah, then
She
I'm not for you. That's fine. That's
I try
fine.
not to bring that forward in my generation, but like the
Yeah,
grudges that my mom could hold with people that hadn't even really wronged her all that much, but
right.
for some reason they just got on her wrong side, and it would just be the end of it. There's
You're like, "You're
there's
done."
no more coming back from it.
But, in a way, it's kind of good because it becomes this sort of natural filtration system where the people who are meant for you or meant to be in your life are attracted to that. And the people who aren't are repelled by it. This took me decades to learn. I
Mm.
was terrified to post on social media. I was terrified to, write different articles that I've now, written some pretty controversial things. And I do it because hopefully it opens up a conversation, and it's certainly, what I call, me learning in public.
Hmm.
So in a lot of ways, I think it's a very good thing. I think it's a very good thing.
I'm reminded of a favorite quote of mine. It's from
Mm.
Saint Augustine, and he said, "Since you cannot do good to all, you are to pay special attention to those who, by the accidents of time or place or circumstances, are brought into closer connection with you." So a little
Ah,
bit of divine providence there,
there
maybe.
you go. I like it. I like it a lot. Yeah. I hope you put that on the screen or in the comments somewhere. It's
Well,
good.
in these new tools, I'm going to try and make that happen.
Yeah.
Oh, so tell me more about fear forward, this concept, this vulnerability and the
Yeah.
courage.
Fear forward, spoiler alert, has changed absolutely everything of my life. Everything. From the way I am as a leader to the types of business I start and sell to the kinds of relationships I have with my family, with extended friends, the opportunities I have from paid speaking engagements, paid book deals, you name it. Frankly, it's how you and I met.
All right.
I was several years ago. In a therapy session. And at that time, spoiler alert, I love learning. I was the kid who, would make my own homework when I didn't get enough homework sent
Oh my
home.
God.
I love learning. It's one of my favorite things to do. So, I'm in therapy. I was doing like two sessions a week because I wanted to like learn this stuff really fast. I'm also pretty impatient. Ironically, Sabrina means patience in Jordanian. I guess I didn't get the memo. But
Oh,
so I'm trying to learn really fast, and I'm just getting frustrated that I'm just talking about doing something. And so I decided in that moment, I was just going to start doing the things that scared me. I was just going to do them. And so that's why I say fear forward, not fail forward, because the outcome doesn't matter. I'm sure there's this proverb of a man who has all these horses, and his horses break out of the fence, and the townsmen come and they go, "Gosh, we're so sorry you lost all your horses." And he's like, "Maybe it's good, maybe it's bad. I don't know."
oh yeah.
And then he goes out to get the horses, and there's more wild horses that come in, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, isn't that great? You got all these extra horses. Congratulations." And he's like, "Maybe it's good, maybe it's not." Then his son is out there trying to, train and tame the wild horses, and one breaks his leg, and they go, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry. Your son broke his leg." And they're like, "Maybe it's good, maybe it's not." And then, the government comes in and says, "We're collecting all the young men. We're going to war." And of course, they can't take the son because now he's got a broken leg. And they say, "Isn't that great?" And it goes on, but maybe it is,
Oh,
maybe it isn't. What has happened to me in my life, the moments in business when I thought, that's it, I'm shutting the doors down, I can't do this anymore, I'm a giant failure, we're calling it quits, within weeks, it's crazy. Those have been my biggest wins. Those have been my absolute biggest wins. My biggest failures, or what should have been my biggest failures, have been my biggest moments of financial, personal, emotional, social growth. And that's when I realized it's not about failing forward, it's
hmm.
about fearing forward. Be good, be so damn good at being scared and showing up anyway that you're just someone who does scary things. You can't think yourself out of it. You can't self-help your way out of it. People are always like, 10 tricks to be courageous. I'm going to tell you something. The way to get courageous, the way to get to your best, most authentic self, to be a better leader, to be a multimillionaire, whatever your goal is, it's on the other side of fear 100% of the time. And so then I started doing this thing that I now lovingly call Fear Forward. And, Dell made it into a social group, and, I've written articles on it. I've done keynotes on it, and it just kept growing and evolving. And I love it because it's free. It's easy. You can start literally right now. I just did something. I just did a Fear Forward right here, by the way, with you.
Yeah.
And I'm scared still all the time. I just do scary things. That's just who I am now. It's great.
You can never grow if you stay in your comfort zone, and
That's
that's
right.
such a true part of what you've built with Fear Forward, is getting beyond that place where you're cozy and it's all easy and I'm happy here. And I
Right.
think I had the opportunity to draft together a proposal for a presentation that our local chamber's putting on Thursday night, and they didn't pick me, but just even the exercise of putting this on to potentially get up on stage for 10 minutes and give this presentation, it brought me through kind of a little bit of writing, a little bit of just reflecting. And one thing that it made me realize is, like, what I have done in starting my own business and trying to shift from an engineering leadership career to a coaching career, is I've left the comfortable confines, the very structured, simple area of the swimming pool, and I've jumped into the ocean. And so I'm a swimmer, and so
Good.
in revealing this to myself, I was like, that's a really good metaphor. I could use that. Maybe I should go speak a little bit.
You should. I think you should, especially if it scares you. Yeah,
Yeah.
all of these little things, or that look little or look trivial or whatever it might be, we don't know where they're going to lead us. I had no idea, in the middle of a pandemic after a therapy session, that this would fundamentally change everything about my life. You just don't know. And look, we get one of these, and who knows what happens at the end. And if I ever die, I'll let you know what happens, but just kidding. But fundamentally, we don't know. So we might as well do our best to make this place a little bit better than we found it. And the only way you're going to do that is by not playing small. Us playing small does nothing to change the world.
Mm.
So what are we doing?
That is the goal of focal point coaching, is to change the world. And so I think you're exactly right that you can't be swimming in that just tiny little kiddie pool. You gotta get in the big open water.
Right.
You got to be
That's
able
right.
to splash around with the people that are making differences in their communities and
Right.
help
And
them
those are risk
make
takers.
better. Yeah.
So true. So true.
How do you, let's think about this, setbacks that you've had. How do you reframe the setbacks, make them, instead of something that just holds you back and knocks you down, but something that
Mhm.
can be a platform for better influence?
Mhm. There should be some canned perfect answer for this, and I don't have one. The reality is, I had one of the largest setbacks. I've never been somebody who struggled with depression or anything like that. People call me the sunshine tornado for a reason. I'm very Pollyanna. I think I love life. I love people. I think it's just really fun. I think it's, I've gotten a chance to do a lot of cool stuff. But like I mentioned, starting a company in an industry where you don't have a big brand, you don't have a big logo, you don't have any customers, and then the whole flipping world shuts down. There's no private investor, there's no angel. It's your money, it's your name, and it was just setback after setback. And we really struggled. And as a leader, first of all, anyone who tells you that they love being a leader and that it's great is lying to you. They're just downright lying to you. It's the hardest thing you'll ever do in your life. I mean, short of being a parent, because people are coming to you. Steve Jobs, a lot of people talk about this. People are coming to you with the problems that they can't solve. You're having the most difficult problems thrown at you at all times. You've always got to be okay. You've always got to have an answer. You've always got to be not just on time, but on early, and you got to leave late, and it's exhausting. And then of course we threw in the pandemic and blah, blah, blah. I mean, that wasn't easy. And there were some setbacks, like massive setbacks that, we put way too many eggs in like one basket with a giant client. We were doing millions of dollars worth. They end up getting a new CFO. So they changed their entire procurement system. So overnight, we lose millions of dollars. It wasn't something we did wrong. It wasn't something we could change. It just freaking happened. And I'm like, now what? Now what? And that ended up being the trajectory for me to get some of the largest clients in the world. And that's when I decided, okay, fine. I'll come back to you when you're ready. We'll work through this procurement system. I'm not letting go of that, but I'm going to go get these giant Fortune 100s. And then they became my main clients. The other client came back, still a great client. There's so many stories like that in my life. I'm just a ball of mess, the most fallible, imperfect, messy human. I'm just willing to be honest about it. And if we're all being honest, we all are. No one has it figured out. I've consulted with the C-suite of the Fortune 100s. I promise you, they're all as confused. They all have imposter syndrome. They're all scared. Some of them have a little bit of narcissism, so they don't even realize that they're so scared. But usually that's because people who try to puff their chest or act like they have all the answers, those are the most insecure people. I'll tell you a little behavior, analyst insight. People who act super tough, people who have a lot of logos, who are wearing a lot of logos, are the most insecure people because you tend to project a mask opposite of how you actually feel. It's just the human existence. So I say that because we're all human. We all deal with this. And some of us are just better than others at faking it.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. I think I have seen leaders that fake it and just keep faking it, and no one ever calls them on it, and they just keep rising. And you look at them and you see, and you just wonder, what am I missing here? Something's not right. But then, in my case, you just leave that organization and you move on.
That's right. That's exactly it. I mean, that was a lesson. Kudos to you, because it took me decades and a couple millions of dollars, by the way. This wasn't a cheap lesson. That's why I'm telling you, because I hope other people can save a few bucks and a few heartaches and whatever, a few setbacks, if you will. It took me a long time because I used to fight it and say, that's not right. That's not fair. That's not just. That's not whatever. And that's when you have to realize life's not fair. I know we know that, but to accept it and go, then what can I change? What can I fix? What can I influence? And that takes a deep level of reflection. It's much easier to blame other people or talk about their faults than talk about your faults and what you control and what you can work on. And it's never been easier than now to work on these things, but it's also kind of a hit to the ego to say, I don't have all the answers and I need to figure this out and I don't know how to do it. That's tough.
It is a tremendous balancing act. I think there are so many things that pull for your attention during a given day or a given week. And so oftentimes it comes at the sacrifice of yourself, your personal health or your wellness. And, I think that's what a recent guest told me. She said that she wants to make more time for herself. And so I thought that was such a great answer to the podcast title question. I'm going to ask you in a little bit for your own, but just that way of being open and honest about the fact that she just truly wanted more time to be able to just sit and be with herself and just let her mind kind of reset, relax, and just help her find that next spark. So
yeah, it's tough. There's not enough hours in the day, that's for sure, for any of us.
What's your way to decompress?
I'm so bad at that. Aren't we all, though? Maybe not,
All the time.
Yeah, I think us type A folks, I would be a self-diagnosed workaholic, if I'm being honest. Even my hobby, I joke, some people have golf. I have the law. I practice law as a hobby. That's not normal. And I get that. I remember one time somebody said, you're kind of quirky. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And now I'm like, oh my God, I'm so quirky, the most quirky. Now I just embrace it. It is what it is. But so a lot of work, I do work out 5-6 times a week, but I hate working out. I don't see that as self-care. I absolutely hate it. Disciplined, driven. I would like to live for a long time and be healthy, and probably vain, if I'm being honest. So that's a big part of it. Yeah, but no, that doesn't feel like a decompress for me.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
yeah, I've done things like I've had a meditation coach before. That was okay. It's harder than it sounds.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I would say, I would think that most leaders or type A struggle with really decompressing,
Yeah.
really letting go. I would say reading, but even my reading is all to just get better at something. So
Okay.
every week I put on my calendar something that I call an investment block. And anybody who's worked for me or follows me on social knows I talk about this. And I was just reading a book, The 5 Types of Wealth, and he talks about this. It turns out that Benjamin Franklin's been doing it. I thought this was just something I did to kind of keep myself on track. It's been going on for a very long time.
Hundreds of years.
So yeah. So what I do is I block out anywhere from 15 minutes to an hour a week and figure out what's one skill that I'm going to work on that week. And I've been doing it now probably for about like 8-9 years, maybe a little longer. And it's amazing. It could be anything. It could be working on how to, financial investments. It could be working on interpersonal skills. So maybe that's the closest thing I have to decompressing, but it still goes back to me learning and a little bit of work.
Yeah.
That's the
Well, and
closest thing I've got.
maybe that's okay. Because again, that's how you're wired. I got to go to a
Yeah.
luncheon yesterday. I'm a huge University of Kentucky athletics fan. And
Ah,
my dad was kind enough to get me a seat at his table for the Mark Pope tip-off luncheon.
amazing.
Mark Pope, a fantastic leader, and he admitted that when he is recruiting new basketball players, he is very careful to stay away from players that are seeking balance in their lives.
Mm,
Said, we're not here for balance. We're here to play basketball and win championships. And so
right.
if you don't have that mentality and can't go 100% all in on this right here, right now, you're not here for Kentucky. And he admitted that even him as a coach during the season, that's how he operates. And he does that with the support of his wife and his daughters. And
Yeah.
so it is just an arrangement that everyone is on board with this way of working, this way of living. And
Right.
again, they're making it work.
It's so true. I just saw an article for, like AI startups and tech startups. Although I think to your point, it applies across the board and across industries. There's just no way to be a business owner and have a balance. And if you're a business owner and and a parent and a partner, I mean, good riddance. It's tough. It's really tough to be balanced. So hopefully you can find something that kind of fills your tank, if you will, within one of those other buckets. And for most of us, I think most of us, entrepreneurs or leaders, it's the leadership or the build that is very fulfilling for us. Exhausting, of course, if we're being honest, but also probably really fulfilling. I think you're exactly right. Maybe that's okay.
Yeah. It's the oversimplified adage, I'll sleep when I'm dead.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I've been saying lately, if I die, then I'll let you know. Because,
You're going to come back and haunt us, aren't you?
That's funny.
What's been your favorite big ticket client that you've gotten the chance to go in front of and speak to? And then again,
Ooh.
that may be upsetting to some that aren't your favorite, but
No, I
share
don't think so. My favorite clients in general, whether I'm consulting or speaking, because I do tend to do a lot of workshops and things like that, especially around the art of the subtle brag and, fear forward, especially for leadership, because a lot of this kind of trickles down. Although, hands down, I've been asked to speak the most about AI. In fact, I've got an AI keynote coming up with Adobe in a couple weeks, and another one coming up, a Google sponsored keynote as well. 2 more, actually, one in London and one in Utah. My favorite audience is learners. And you could just tell right away. You can just tell right away. If everyone's kind of trickling in and they're kind of, it's supposed to start at 12 and they're trickling in at 12:03, 12:04, then your behavior, this is coming from a behavior analyst. So of course, I'm always analyzing behavior. Your behavior tells you everything. So if you're showing up, where you're sitting, when you're showing up, even down to your blink rate, if I've got people's attention and they're focused, they're going to have a much slower, reduced blink rate because they're focused. If you wake up in the middle of the night and you hear a loud thud at the bottom of the stairs, you're not going to blink. I mean, you'll blink maybe once a minute. They've done some research on this. So when you've got people really honed in and really focused, you're looking at their blink rates. You're looking at, okay, are they taking notes? Are they nodding along, or are they on their phone? Kind of like, yeah, whatever. My favorite audience are the ones who learn. And I've done this every single keynote. I will always stay after and, talk with as many people as I can. Sometimes they literally had to shut us out. The last one, they literally had to shut us out because there was such a line to talk about it. And, like I just did a great series for Dell, and there was a wait list to get in. And I'm like, then let's do another one. I've had the privilege, truly the privilege, of working with the largest companies in the world, building and launching world-changing solutions, being part of their AI solution and messaging and sales and an engineering enablement and leadership enablement. And I mean, you name it. And so being able to learn from such incredible experts across, truly like direct competitors and alliances and building alliances and what does that look like? And, one of the ways I even got into tech is there was a massive lawsuit across 2 alliances, and I helped kind of resolve that. And that's what brought me later into sales leadership. So being able to see and learn from so many people, not just my own lessons, but to learn from so many incredible people, I feel almost like an obligation to share it with other people. And to your earlier point, there's been so many difficult points in my life that if maybe we can help some people avoid it or get around it faster and do more good, I feel like that's my purpose. That's why I'm here. So I love being able to share with people who are inquisitive and learning, including, some of my top members on my teams are folks that I hired right out of high school or right out of college, or maybe converted into different career paths. It's the character, it's the personality trait that I'm really looking for.
Mm-hmm. What's the biggest indicator of that personality type that you can pick up on in that first 15 to 20 minute conversation?
I'm always looking for, same thing, when did they show up? How did they show up? And what kinds of questions are they asking? What's important to them? If you look at your calendar, I can tell you exactly what's important to you. If you look at the types of questions that you ask your friends, I can tell you exactly what's important to you. And then, of course, there's other ways. And people ask me, well, can't you shut off like the behavior analyst in you? No, I don't think I can at this point, So there's a little bit of behavioral analysis and profiling going on naturally. It's just embedded in me now. But usually what I'm looking for, and Warren Buffett talks a lot about this. So if it's interesting to you, I highly recommend, listening to a lot of his speeches and talks. But you're really looking for the personality, the character trait of the person. And you just can't beat that. Like I said, I've never had a problem with age, gender, location. I've run global teams many, many times in many of my businesses where I'd never met the person in person. And where we were all remote around the world and been wildly, wildly successful. So you're really looking for the right kind of person, the character trait. Do they take pride in their work? Do they take pride in who they are? Are they careless in their mistakes? Here's a good example. If somebody messages you and they don't capitalize or use just very common sense grammar, it means they think their time is more important than yours. That's interesting. That might be something that's a concern. Because when you're in a business, when you're building something, you got to be in it together because there's going to be hard times. There's going to be difficult times that are so beyond what you even can prepare for, that you have to have a solid foundation. And that is fundamentally culture, not in the fluffy way some people talk about culture, but at its root, that has to be your foundation. And if you're trying to put in the windows of a house before you build a foundation, guess what's going to crumble? Guess who's not getting a house tomorrow? You've got to start with the foundation.
I think that goes right along with one of your big philosophies of leadership is collaboration.
Mm-hmm. Very much so. Yeah.
Do you think you can have a culture at all without collaboration?
You can, and I've seen them. I've definitely worked with them. Not for long if I've had to work with them or for them. I mean, you certainly can. You know, I've worked in politics. I've worked in law. I've worked in the mental health field. I've worked in tech. You know, I've worked as public persona and public speaking. So I've hit a lot of industries, and I've seen a lot of things, either working directly for them, with them, whatever it might be. Um, yes, if you build a culture where people don't feel safe to either ask dumb questions or make dumb suggestions. By the way, you can't get good suggestions and good questions if you don't allow the bad ones, because you don't know until after it's done. You're going to surround yourself with a whole bunch of yes people. The leader is going to feel great. And in a lot of cases, they're also going to still make a lot of money. Kind of goes back to just because it's not right doesn't mean it's going to change. There is no justice. We got to get that out of our head. At least not yet. Maybe the next generation will fix it. I sure as hell hope they will. But it's systemic. And, a lot of people make a lot of money by building the kind of culture that you talk about. But without collaboration, even from a neuroscience perspective, like the brain science of it all, you've got all kinds of like hormones, like cortisol shooting, and you've got your amygdala triggered. So you just can't physically innovate without a culture of collaboration, without a culture where people genuinely feel safe. And the number one way you do that, there's two ways really that you can infiltrate an organization, but it's real hard. The number one way to change or influence a culture is it's got to start with leadership. It's got to start with them being like radically authentic, meaning I don't know the answer. I screwed up here. I hired this person. They're better than me at this job, so we're going to put them in this position. That's a huge ego hit. You've got to be really honest with yourself and other people. But if you want to build a culture of authenticity and a safe culture, you have to start with that level of authenticity. And it doesn't mean you just show up authentically. It means you're always working to become and be more authentic. It's not just a thing you do, it's a thing you continuously become.
I think it's slipped into corporate culture a little bit as a buzz phrase, but I'm a fan of it. I think it's absolutely critical to have psychological safety in the workplace. And as a leader at Toyota, I was absolutely adamant with my team that this is a place where you can come to me as an open book. We are going to work together. We're going to spend all of these hours together. Let's just get it all on the table. Here's what I've got. Here's what you've got. Yep. Now we know. Let's work. Let's innovate. Let's accomplish the goals.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah. I have an open door policy. Everybody who works for me has full access to my calendar. They can even see what I'm doing. And everyone's got my cell phone number. And they know, because they use it, they can call me at midnight. They can call me at 6 a.m. I understand there's different parents, different personal situations. There's different things going on. That's part of being a leader. To your earlier question, there's not going to be as much work-life balance. Now, you can certainly instill that, but for me, the end goal was really about being successful. And so I knew it was going to take a ton of sacrifice on my end. And if you're hiring the right people, they're using it with discernment. They're not going to abuse it.
Sabrina, we've come to the time, the closing question of the podcast.
Dun, dun, dun.
Are you ready?
I'm ready. Maybe. I don't know.
All right. At this stage of your life and career, making more what is most important to you?
Making more authentic people. I'm telling you, the number one thing that brought me more opportunities, more money, more success, better friendships was when I really started to understand who I am. And then first, that's number one, because it's an inside job. But then number two, being radically okay showing it externally. I mean, that is the toughest thing, but it'll give you more freedom, more joy. It'll empower you. You will physically think better. Your health will be better. You will surround yourself with better people. Everything flows from what starts at the center. And there's no other way around it. If you want to be happier, if you want to have more confidence, if you want to be wealthier, if you want to, whatever it is, fill in your blank. The first way to start is to be authentic. And that's fundamentally what Fear Forward is all about, is really finding who are you and then growing into that person. So I would love to make more authentic people because it means I'm making better legacies. I'm making happier people. I'm making more successful people. Yeah. So that's what that would look like for me.
Well, if you are listening to this podcast and you are an artificial person, we've got work.
We all are, by the way. We all are. Me too. Me too. Yeah.
True, right?
It's just how it goes. Yeah.
That's right. Sabrina, how can the audience connect with you and learn more about what you're doing?
Yeah. I'd love to connect with you. Like I said, I've got an open door policy. So you're welcome to reach out to me. You can book me as a speaker or schedule me at sabrinashafer.com. I always tease I'm the minimalist. So it's SHAFER, no C, 1F, keep it simple. So sabrinashafer.com, or you can find me on social, YouTube. We just hit 127,000 followers on YouTube. That blows my mind. You can find me on LinkedIn, same thing, or on Instagram. That's all the social I can do. That's all I got in me. So if you see anything else, it's not me. Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube. That's how you'll find me.
I love it. And that's funny that you mentioned it's the minimalist last name spelling. It's definitely not the German spelling of Shafer.
No. Keep it easy. Keep it easy. Yeah, that's funny.
Once again, Sabrina, thank you so much for being here. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. What a great time, and see you soon.
Thanks for listening to Making More. If today's conversation sparked something in you, let's connect. You can find me on LinkedIn and Threads at Coach Fischer, FPT, or by visiting billyfisher.focalpointcoaching.com to learn more about how I help leaders create clarity, build momentum, and make more of what matters. This recording is copyrighted by Engineered Consulting Incorporated. Until next time, take care.